So in this session, we'll go a little bit more into some more depth into mobile filmmaking and what it's all about. We haven't got a lot of time, so I may brush over equipment a little bit, but we can pick it up in some Q&A or some questions if there's any specific things that you want to ask about that side of it. So I use an app called Filmic Pro, which I mentioned this morning, which is a professional video recording app. A lot of professionals are using specifically Filmic Pro, but there are other apps out there that do very similar. But I personally prefer this one. I find the interface of the mobile screen very friendly and easy to sort of understand. You don't need to be a top filmmaker to get it. With a few tutorial videos online, you can kind of get an idea of how it works. So as I said, Filmic Pro, they've been around a long time. I think it first launched in 2012. I discovered them in 2014. The reason I personally like the app is because it was originally designed by a filmmaker in Seattle. And I think the thinking was already there. A filmmaker trying to think up a way of, if you're going to use your phone to shoot content with, what do you need? What tools do you need in an app that will allow you to do that and give you the same controls or similar controls to a DSLR camera, which I'm sure a lot of you have used before. So that's what I like. There's other apps out there, but they're not coming from the same kind of background. Just going to show you a couple of clips which shows you the interface of Filmic Pro in action, as well as some clips that shot from So in essence, that's what Filmic Pro is. It allows you to find the right settings that you need to shoot your story, whether it's a documentary or a drama, music video, whatever it might be, or a local corporate video that you might be getting paid to do. And with Filmic Pro, again, it is an app. It's got everything there that you need in order to shoot really good quality content on, but obviously it doesn't create the magic for you. Okay, what you put into it and what you learn about it and the skills that you develop as a filmmaker is what makes it better and is how you should be using it. A lot of people download Filmic Pro or similar apps like there's Moment or Bscript. They download the apps and they do all this and then they're not happy with the quality. Well, it's not really about just the functions of the app. It's about how you use it in different locations. Particularly under low light conditions. We all know that mobile phones are not great under low light, and it really is a learning skill in working out how to shoot in low light. So many people are influenced. They see content online and they go, wow, that's amazing. What, you shot that on a phone? Wow, that's incredible. There's nothing amazing about what I shoot at all. I'm just a filmmaker amongst many thousands of others out there who do it as a job. It's because I use my skills as a filmmaker and I've had the camera training in the past that allows me to make sure that what I am filming is of a quality that I want and what I expect to see. A lot of people think that the app's going to do it all. As I've said before, they get influenced. It's not my intention to influence other people, but they may see my content online or someone else in the States. Then they download the app and then they're like, what's going on? It's noisy, it's grainy, it's pixelated, I can't, it's not producing that. So, this is useless. Well, it takes time and patience to actually learn the app itself, because you can delve very deep into it and it can be quite sophisticated. So as I said, it takes time and practice, can be achieved to achieve what you need. To me, mobile filmmaking is an art form in itself. I think it's a total separate entity to other standards. So 35mm, which is what I used to shoot, to digital, to mobile phone. They all aesthetically have a very different look and feel about them, and they all work for different types of storytelling. And again, as I said this morning, it's about what you choose to work with. But I do think it's a very separate form. You can't compare it or match it to others. That's like saying, is digital better than 35mm? Well, no, they both come up with very different results. And so I think they're all very separate art forms that I hope will always be with us. Let's move on to, so just to show you a quick other behind the scenes, and then I'm going to ask you to do something. So, to me, pulling focus, that was a huge thing for me, and I discovered Filmic Pro, is that you can pull focus while you're filming. Obviously, coming from a professional camera background, as you would pull focus on a main camera system like this one, or as he's doing in photography, his DSLR camera, it's about pulling focus, being able to focus your audience, your viewers, into specific areas of the frame that you're concentrating on. And so, the fact that Filmic Pro could do that on a phone just blew my mind, that you could actually film and pull focus. And as you saw there in the clip, you're not going to get huge, what we call bokeh. You're not going to get really huge amounts of soft focus in the background, but you can get some, and it is there. And so that really excited me. Mistakes are good. I think everyone has to make mistakes. A lot of people seem to get pretty nervous about making mistakes or don't want to sort of show themselves up making mistakes. Mistakes are brilliant. I love mistakes. I love the word mistakes because you can't get experience without making mistakes. And 25 years on from when I first started in my career, I still make mistakes pretty much every day. My wife reminds me every day that I make mistakes. So, you know, you always, the thing is to try and learn from those mistakes and just not keep repeating the same ones. Then you kind of know you've gone a bit wrong. So mistakes are good, and experience is what you get from making those mistakes. So I want all of you to get your phones out. Now, do any of you, when you upgrade your phone or you rush out because there's a new phone out on the market and it looks amazing or whatever, and you rush in the shop and you get your phone, do you ever look at the settings of actually what your video records in? So of course, when you buy a phone from the manufacturer, you have default settings that it's usually set in. I do find generally a lot of people don't really even delve into the menu system to check what those video recordings are. So if you haven't, have a look at it now. On Android, I mean, it depends what make you've got. Obviously on the iPhone, it will be in the main menu settings, and then you have to scroll down to Camera App, click on Camera App, and then you will find all the different resolution levels that your phone is capable of recording. Now, particularly with iPhone, by default, they tend to set it at 30 frames per second. I always shoot 24 frames per second because I want my content to be as filmic and have as much motion blur as possible. And so I would want to stick to 24 frames per second. Obviously, Apple, you know, being from the US, they tend to like to stick to their sort of 30 frames as a default setting. But if you have got a 24 frames per second setting there, it's worth trying it out. And also, you should have slow motion settings on different frame rates, 4K, 2K. What's everyone seeing? Someone tell me. Maybe we can. Someone tell me what you're seeing. You've got 4K capability on there? So you've got 4K, 60 frames per second is slow motion. So you can have maybe 4K at 25 or 24. You've got 24, fantastic. So if you can, set it at that.
30.
You've got 30, yeah. So 30 is fine. It's fine for video content. But rule of thumb is if you're going to shoot, I don't know, a film or a documentary, then you would maybe look at 24 frames per second. As we do in the UK, we shoot 25 frames for television, but we shoot 24 for film. So it's up to you what your settings are. Memory size really depends on your phones and how much memory you've got in your phone. Of course, if you're shooting 4K resolution, it's going to zap memory pretty quick. And it does obviously burn extra battery life. So a portable charger of some kind would be useful to have with you. Although the more recent models are much better now. I mean, I can shoot a whole day with the iPhone 12 Pro Max and may only have to charge it once for about half an hour. So that's a huge improvement to what they were before. Obviously, with the iPhone 13 that's come out now, if you shoot in ProRes, be careful about this. Do not rush out in the shops and buy it. You need to really think it through because they've now created ProRes in recording, which is an incredible level for us to now get to. You need a phone with 1 terabyte memory because the gigabytes are going to go like that as soon as you shoot in ProRes. I think it was literally like, I can't remember exact, but a minute of ProRes is already 6 gigabytes. You probably need to plug a computer in and drag it around with you as your hard drive while you're filming. So yeah, be cautious when if you are an iPhone user. Be cautious because if you want to shoot ProRes, if you want to go down that route and look at it more professionally, you would need to be purchasing the 1 terabyte. Anything less than that, you're going to struggle with the memory massively. Even a 500 gigabyte is not going to last you very long if you shoot in ProRes. If you take it back to just shooting in 4K, at the Rec 709, then obviously you're going to get a lot more memory on your phone and you're fine. But if you do want to go down the ProRes, just keep it in mind. Now, do any of you use the grids on your phone? Yeah, you have your horizontal and vertical rule of thirds. Yeah, we all know about that? Good, excellent, moving on. Sorry, question.
4K and 1080p because you film in 4K, when you load it up, it's 1080p is enough for online video, eh?
It is enough. Obviously, if everything was in 4K going up to YouTube, the whole system would crash. But it's about what you start with is going to be better for you in post-production because you're going to have a lot more to play with for color grading purposes, for cropping your frame if you have to do that, if there's been some kind of mistake and you need to crop in a bit, then of course you're maintaining the quality. And obviously 4K for a big screen is absolutely fine. Well, a lot of my content on YouTube is crushed into a 1080 anyway when it's being played. Yeah. Yeah. I tend to, the outcome would only be in 4K for me if I was projecting in a cinema screen. You know, that's what I'd be looking at, is that it needs to be played in 4K resolution. But online, pretty much everything's been shown at 1080. No, never. No. Used to, with when the DSLRs first came out, of course, there was this huge revolution in video being on a DSLR camera. And of course, it was 1080p, and that was the standard. But ever since 4K came into the arena, and of course now 8K, and I mean, where it stops, I don't know. It's pretty insane. And why do we need to shoot in 8K? I have no idea, but someone obviously, you know, feels that we should. So on Filmic Pro, you can do everything. You can check your ISO settings, your shutter speed. You've got full control of it. You can do log capture, white balance control when you're actually shooting. That's a brilliant tool, the white balance control. And log capture is really important. So log capture is something you would get on a mainstream film camera, or you know, on an Arri, or again on a Red. You would get log capture recording. And obviously on this one, it's now able to record in 10-bit. Log capture basically means that it sort of grays out all the colors. It keeps it kind of neutral so that when you go into post-production, you can fully color grade everything that you've shot. to whatever level you want to do it. Whether you want everything to look really green or blue or a mixture or sunset, whatever the colors are or the color palette that you want to use, log capture on Filmic Pro allows you to do that. So basically everything, when you're filming, don't panic, because everyone goes, oh my God, it's gone gray, or it's looking really weird and white or grayish. That's perfectly normal. When you put it into your edit suite, if you use anyone use DaVinci Resolve? No? Try it out. You can get the free version of DaVinci Resolve and download it, and it will give you full access to color grading. So shoot your video, cut your video, put it into DaVinci Resolve, maybe watch a couple of online tutorials, and then straight away you can color grade.
Do you use DaVinci only to color grade and then you put it in Premiere or another editing program?
Say again, sorry.
Do you then first color grade it and then you put it in an editing program?
No, I will always edit the video first, finish it complete, and then put it into another program to color grade.
Okay.
Yeah. Manual focus, as I mentioned earlier, is a fantastic device. This little wheel on the right side of the screen, you literally, with your thumb, use this, so it's kind of keeping this motion of pulling the lens on a camera. So with your thumb, you're doing the same thing. You're setting your pull focus. The other fantastic thing is you can preset it, so you can actually set it up to film, say, a product, and you can preset it to pull focus at different points automatically. There's something else that Apple's introduced with cinematic mode in the iPhone 13, which now does this extra. I'm not absolutely sure on how technically it's doing it, but it will record pulling focus throughout the shot, and then in edit, you can choose which focusing you're going to use. I've seen clips of it. The only thing that doesn't appeal to me right now is that it can only work in 1080p. I just think there's obviously so much tech that's gone into it. But what's exciting is by next year, I think that's going to be going up, quite a few levels, because they've initiated it. It means that that's something they're going to develop even further. So some basics we need to think about when using a phone. Low light filming is always a bit of a struggle on a mobile phone. There are ways around it. I'm going to show you a couple of video clips on techniques and different ways you can use it. And one of them actually involves a kitchen cabinet light, which I have now 4 of that I use all the time for night shoots because I love the light that it uses. And it's one of those self-charging lights, tubular lights. Exposure. Exposure is a very tricky area, again, when you want to shoot professionally on a mobile using a video recording app. Fixed lens issues. Zoom function. Do we zoom? I don't know how many of you were here this morning, but do you zoom on a phone a lot? You're lying, honestly. Yeah, zooming isn't a function. It doesn't work. You'll never be happy with the footage that you've used by zooming in on something. It's all pixelated. I want to talk briefly around the myths around latest mobile phones, and that you don't need the latest mobile phones in order to shoot really good content. It's just not something that you need at all. Just going to show you an example of low light filming with an iPhone. Start that one yet. So it shows, yes, you can shoot in really dark situations with very specific lighting. The same techniques is what you would use, in mainstream film production. You need to bring that to mobile filmmaking. So you would think about the same kind of lighting. The one thing that mobile phones do need is they need more light. So if you were using 3-point lighting in some kind of room setup with an actor, you would need to actually boost that quite a bit.
Whatever we saw, was that filmed by the setup that we saw in the video itself?
It's shot on a phone. It's a phone filming a phone. Yeah, yeah, right. Is that what you? Yeah, similar setup. So the phone, yeah, fair, good. The phone was on a remote slider. So it was set up on a slider, and you just push a button, and it goes up and down. Yeah. So yeah, but it was a phone filming a phone.
Did you use some extra lighting to make that dark shot?
Yeah, so what I used was, obviously I had a tubular red light in the background just to project some background light, and I was waving a kitchen light over the top of it as I was filming. So I had it remotely running, and then I was just going like a magic wand over it. And you just keep filming until you go, oh, I like that shot, that's good, yeah, we'll use that. But there is this fear around shooting in low light. A lot of people are, particularly when you want to shoot a very serious drama or something that's just really important to capture, but it's at nighttime. People get really scared. It's a weird thing to say, but they get scared of the dark, and not, I don't mean personally, but when they're filming with a phone, they're scared that if it's too dark, there's going to be no image there, and it's just going to look really strange. But I would always say on a mobile phone, the darker, the better. Okay, if you try to lift that with the ISO settings, you're going to be really unhappy with the results. You're going to have a lot of grain and pixelation in the image. The ISO on a mobile phone is pretty much redundant because it's a digital processor. It's pushing in fake gain that doesn't really exist. So you'll never be happy with the ISO setting. So the trick is really simple. Don't touch the ISO. Keep it as low as possible. The lowest number on your phone is where you need to always keep it. Shoot in 24 frames. If the area is dark, that's fine. Just concentrate more light into the specific area that you want lit. Yeah, so again, that was there was a lot of debate online. But you need the new phones. The lenses on the new phones are the ones that deal with low light issues and so on and so on. So I said, no, okay, all right, I'm going to phone up an actor friend of mine. We're going to just shoot a clip. We'll just make it up as we go along, have a bit of fun, and just show. So I went back to using the iPhone 8. 8 Plus, and just said, well, look, there you go. Okay, so it's not about the phone itself. It's about how you're using it, how you're lighting it, and how you control the Filmic Pro app when you're actually shooting with it. Hi, my name's Cassius Rayner. Oh, hang on. Right, so I'm sorry about this. The video was online, so I ended up doing a series of I did a series of videos, 18 episodes for Filmic Pro directly, talking about different aspects of Filmic Pro. The reason I'm just showing this little bit today, so you'll have to ignore the fact that I'm standing going, hello, is the clips about the shots that I wanted to show you. Oh, if it will play. How do we do? Hi, my name's Cassius Rayner, and I'm an iPhone cinematographer. So in today's video, we're going to look at exposure issues. How do we get the right exposure using the brilliant Filmic Pro app when we're out on the streets in daylight? So let's dive straight into it. So mobile phone cameras can struggle with exposure. And when you're using Filmic Pro's app, my professional recommendation is that you always try to shoot at 148, which is twice
the actual frame rate that I'm filming at. So generally I'll shoot at 24 frames per second, and so your shutter speed should be double that. Okay, then you get the best movement and motion in your recording, and you get more of a filmic look to it. If you allow it to run auto, the shutter speed number can get really high. Some of your shots may end up with some motion issues that you may not see until you've got into post-production.
Can you see the lines going down the screen?
Well, why did it do that?
This is where the shutter
why did
speed
it
issue
jolt,
is
or
there.
why did it judder? Because the shutter speed is just too high. It's too high to the frame rate that you're filming at. But when you're shooting at 148 out on the streets, you do need to use an ND filter, neutral density. It's a bit like putting a pair of sunglasses on to your lens. Another reason why a neutral density filter is really useful, because you're able to keep your ISO levels as low as possible, and you're able to keep your shutter speed at 148 using the ND filter, you will find that the manual focus on the Filmic Pro app is brilliant, and you'll actually get really nice depth of field to your images. Now, if you run everything automatic when you're out on the streets filming, you will find that it may look a bit flat. You will have less control over the manual focus. So try to avoid that if you can. Use the manual controls, keep your ISO down, use an ND filter where possible, and then you'll have an awful lot more fun using the manual focus, and you'll find that you can pull focus. And as I've mentioned before in my other videos, keep in mind your actual FMB. So your foreground, your middle area, and your background. And by using an ND filter, you'll still get some really nice depth to your images using the Filmic Pro app. So I hope you found the video.
Okay, that's enough. Thanks, Cassius. That was cool. Saved me having to do it in person. So 2 areas, low light. Again, it's about keeping the ISO as low as possible, but if you're filming on the streets, you should always have an LED light with you or a battery-powered light with you. Concentrate the light source on the actor's face. You can cheat it, so it looks like it's actually lights that are coming from a lamppost or from shop windows, but it does work, and that little bit of extra light gives that sharpness, and it gives the quality that you need. Another area I wanted to talk about now is lenses. So when you look at your phones or you buy your phones, why do you buy your phones? What is the main purpose that you buy your phone? You tell me. Communication. Yeah, that's a good one.
iPhone battery on the last one doesn't work anymore, so it runs out too fast, so you have to get another one.
Right. Are any of you driven to buying new mobile phones because of the lenses that are being offered? No.
Yeah.
Okay. You are? Yeah. You? Yeah. Okay.
I feel like Samsung does a good job in branding themselves as really good lenses, but Apple brands itself like a really good phone. So I don't think you have that in mind when you buy it. It's more of it's a new iPhone. It has way more lenses than the first one. So I don't know.
But it's even weird that the iPhone, when you put it in Instagram, like you have 2 pictures from Samsung and iPhone. The iPhone picture looks better on Instagram by chance. So a lot of content creators, they use iPhone just because of the quality.
There's gremlins in the system. It's a war. Yeah. But it's interesting. I mean, okay, so you lot up the back there, chilling out. You do you buy mobile phones because of the lenses? You lot, yes or no? Do you buy your mobile phone because of lenses or for something else? Something else? Okay. I won't ask what. Okay. What lenses have you got on your phones? Do you pay much attention to that? I mean, look at your phones now. Do you know how many lenses you have on your phone?
Yeah, 3.
I like those 3 lenses.
Got 1? You got 2? Do you know what they are?
It's a wide and a telephoto,
Yeah.
not super wide.
Okay. There's no right or wrong in why I'm asking. I'm not trying to catch you out or anything, but what I do find interesting when I engage with people directly is that a lot of people go, oh, lenses, yeah. I've got a lot of people just don't think about how many lenses they actually do have on their phone. And a lot of people don't actually use their telephoto lens. Some on iPhones say, well, I don't even know how you click on the telephoto lens. How do you make that work? So, lenses.
I believe one of the 3 floating iPhones is to stabilize the image.
the portrait.
Well, there's a floating optical there's a floating optical stabilization inside the iPhone lens as well that actually moves in order to try and stabilize it. But the lenses you've got, so sorry, just out of example, what phone have you got there? iPhone 11. Yep, so you've got the ultra wide and the wide. Yeah. Don't know why they got rid of the telephoto on that one, but yeah. So how many of you use a telephoto lens?
We zijn nou aan het afronden. Ik moet afronden, dan moet ik iedereen bedanken en dan race ik naar buiten.
Classic.
Ik kan ze mee.
I hope she's not in the toilet.
Oké. Ik ben klaar. Maar als jij ze dan hier afzet, dan gaan we naar Amsterdam. Ik moet nog...
Livestreaming, you can't get better than that. Someone's talking, we don't know who it is.
Lieke kan mij ook bij jou afzetten. Hoef je niet helemaal naar Amsterdam te rijden. Dan neem
How are we doing up there, guys, and cutting it off? Oh, gone.
Jij rijdt naar Loenen?
No, she's still there. Can you cut her off? There's someone else talking. Gone? As long as she's okay. That's the main thing. So you had a question?
Yeah, I saw this video about like when the 12 and the 13 came out.
Yeah.
Because the glass was raised from the metal, it actually created lens flares and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you find that
Yeah.
that's annoying? Or like
It is annoying. It is there. There are artifacts. Yeah. It kicked off with the iPhone 11, and it has progressively got worse. I don't know what it's like on the iPhone 13, but it has been a problem on certain night shoots where you're panning past or tracking past a lamppost, and it picks up that light, and you suddenly get a ghost flare that just keeps going across the light, which is not really welcome. So yeah, there are some issues with that. Do you know how to use your telephoto lenses? Do you use your telephoto lenses? So if you opened your phone now in the camera app, come on, get your phones out. Let me have them. I've got a box down here, just put the phones in there, that'll be fine.
This is not a robbery, right?
It's a very polite robbery.
Does the 8 Plus have it? 'Cause I have an old phone.
Does the 8 Plus have a telephoto? So this is a good point. Yes, it does. So in the screen of an iPhone, there is a little circle at the bottom of your screen with a number in it that usually says ×1. If you click it, it will physically switch your lens. Only if you have another lens. Yeah. Okay? Is it there?
Yep.
So when you do that, it's not about zooming. You're actually physically switching from one lens to the other. And then when you tap it again, it takes you back to your default wide-angle lens. Did you get that?
Yeah.
The other thing is you probably came across it by default or by mistake. You can, without using external apps, third-party apps, you can actually control the exposure on an iPhone. iPhone's not been very generous in giving lots of basic controls in the camera app. They are getting better with the newer models. But on that one, if you just hold your finger in the middle of the screen for at least 3 seconds, you get a yellow box. Sundial, which means your exposure, you can push up and down. AF and AE, which means autofocus and auto exposure is locked. And it's locked on distance as well. So you can get depth of field, and you can get, if you focus on something that's fairly near to you, then it will make the whole background out of focus, which is pretty cool.
The thing with the frame rate and double shutter speed, you can't do it in iPhone camera app, eh?
You can't what, sorry?
The frame rate 24 and 48 shutter speed.
No.
It's only in film.
You can't use, there's no control over shutter speeds in the camera app.
It's only in Film Pro.
Yeah. Yeah, all other similar apps, but yes, principally you have to go to a third-party app that has access and control over that. Yeah. So can you all hold up your phone in landscape, not vertical, with your camera app open? And can you, if you're with your friends and if you all know each other, then this is all right. Could you turn your camera to the person next to you? Actually, can you give a little bit of distance? Could you actually come further apart from each other? Just so we got a little, because what I want you to do is I want you to do a tracking shot going closer to them. So that's why you need a bit of distance from that person. Okay, so I want you to do a nice slow tracking shot towards them and go as close as you can to them. And record it. Yeah, record it. Obviously, out of respect, make sure you delete it all afterwards. Don't be pinging it out on social media. So yeah, go in close to that person, hold it for a few seconds, and then cut. Okay, now look at that clip. If you've done it to each other, that's great. Pardon, oh, that didn't sound too good. Done it to each other. It's the wrong program. If you can check the clip that you've just shot, I want you to use your own eyes and just tell me what you think is right or wrong about that shot. As someone said, everything. Huh?
My color corrected pretty strongly when I got close to him.
Yeah, so that'd be the exposure was going up and down. Yeah. Yeah, which you have no control over. What else? So we've got exposure going up and down. Yeah. I like the iPhone 6. It's a good phone. I still use it. Although it's the battery that's a problem on that phone. Yeah. What else have you seen in the clip that you just looked at? Very shaky. Okay. Okay. So now I want you to do it again, but this time I don't want you to go right up to their face. What I've asked you to do is something you would never do as a professional mobile filmmaker, okay? You don't use a wide-angle lens to shoot a close-up. Why? It's not, yeah, beautiful, I know.
It's not the best to show the features of the face.
Well, what you're doing is you're forcing the horizontal and vertical lines to push out. Okay, so what you end up with is what we call like a fisheye effect. When you look at that person in reality to what you've just recorded, they do not look like that. In 99% of the cases, yeah. But the reality is they don't look like that because it's all gone like this. It's all pushed out the curves. It's curved all the lines in the frame because you're forcing a camera lens on a phone to do something it's not designed to do. It's not designed to do that if you want to shoot it in a professional sort of arena. So what you have to do is, usually the wide-angle lens on any phone has the best f-stop, so it has the best amount of light going through the lens. So you're going to use that a lot more than many of the other little lenses that you might have on your phone. So now, physically, I want you to do it again. But this time, you physically have to stop where you think your eyes are telling you, oh, okay, it's starting to look unreal, a bit curved, this is not how they look. You need to engage with your lens and know the distance. So you would stop before they start to distort, is one way of saying it. I would say, on the camera operator, this is really cool. Yeah. See, you were going to a certain point there, and she was going completely like rounded, fish-eyed effect, and that's not how she. That's not how. Oh no, she. Oh God. Oh no, she does look like. Sorry. No. No, she doesn't. Okay. Does it make more sense? Does it make more sense? It takes practice, but it's about physically knowing what is the distance that I can go on a wide-angle lens towards someone without distorting the image. It's one thing I hate seeing online. A lot of people are shooting short films using mobile phones, and that's fantastic, and I want them to. But it drives me nuts when I see the wide-angle lens being used for close-ups. Now, if it's in a horror film or something like that, where you kind of want that distortion or that kind of effect, great, fine, it works. But generally, it doesn't, and it's really off-putting when you're looking at someone who's gone all goggly-eyed and fish-eyed, but they're talking about something really serious. It's like, no, come on, use the right lens. Well, if I'm not using any external lenses to the phone, I would use the telephoto lens, yeah, on my phone. Did you just swear at me? That was a very British thing. 2 fingers. Yeah, it depends on how many lenses obviously you got on your phone. You can use a wide-angle lens on your phone, but I would recommend you get a telephoto external lens to clip onto it. If not, you physically just have to get to that place that you can find that it works. Wide-angle lens is fantastic to work with, but there are restrictions. Audio. Yeah. This is at the point that I leave because it drives me nuts talking about audio. It's a bit of a minefield, audio, when it comes to mobile filmmaking, but there are ways to make it to simplify some of the issues. iPhones are not very good with audio. The way that they've been designed is to try and block other connections going in. So you get an awful lot of, you plug what is a decent mic or whatever into it and it just rejects it, or it says, oh, don't recognize it, don't like it, go away. There are some ways around that. There are some adapters that you can use. But pretty much in mobile filmmaking, we would expect to use the same kind of sound equipment that you would use in mainstream film production as well. So I've given an example here. This on the right-hand side is an XLR adapter connector. So that allows you to plug in your boom mics, your Sennheiser mics, your Shure mics, whatever you've got that run on an XLR cable. You can then use boom poles, whatever, plugs into that, then it's downsized into your phone. And so you're getting broadcast quality sound straight into the phone. Or you record separately and sync up as you would in any other professional shoot afterwards. I would say in the MOJO world, I did mention it this morning, Rode Wireless Go microphones seem to be the most popular ones that a lot of people are using, whether it's for vlogging or presenting. I've actually used them for recording scenes in drama with actors as well, because you can obviously hide them on the body. And I bought 2 sets so that both were being recorded at the same time, and the sound was fantastic because it's transmitted straight to the phone, and it was really good. Sennheiser have developed a recent new microphone. I'm a big fan of Sennheiser. It's the professional film industry standard microphones to kind of work with. There are other good makes, but Sennheiser's been around, well, longer than I am, but it was one of the first I knew. And they've come out with the MKE 200 directional microphone, which is fantastic all-round stereo microphone that plugs directly into your mobile phone or a DSLR camera, whatever it is that you're using. But it's got fantastic sound. The key with the sound is, and another thing I would mention, if you're still struggling with sound, you can always use a secondary mobile device. You can use a 10-pound lapel mic, wire someone up here, put the mobile phone in their pocket, and then record, do your filming, clap your hands so that you can then sync the sound afterwards. There's nothing wrong with using, a lot of people have done that. They use a secondary mobile phone with a audio app that they then record the sound on and then sync it up to the video afterwards in post-production. But these are 2 things that are really essential. Not with Android. Android's really good for external inputs. You have the 2-ring around the phone jack, the 3.5mm jack, and that will connect to anything. If you plug that into an iPhone, of course, it's not going to work. So you can use the iPhone Lightning adapters. So you can then plug in any kind of professional mic that you want, and it will work. But don't go on Amazon or something like that and buy another version of it, because usually they don't work. You have to throw them in the bin. It is the one time that I would say, I'm not an advocate in trying to promote Apple, but you're going to have to buy one of Apple's adapters to guarantee that it will work on the phone. Here, this here is the Rode SL6. It's brilliant to have because it means you can monitor your sound while you're recording on your phone. We're dealing with a one connection situation. But this allows you to connect in your microphone to whatever it is you're recording, but also to plug in your headphones at the same time so you can actually hear what it is that you're recording, which I think is, you know, a big thing to do. So, yeah, made by Rode, so it's worth checking out. Do you have any specific sounds on audio before I move on? When they removed the headphone jack? Yeah.
Weren't you kind of pissed?
Yeah, I was pissed. Yeah, it was frustrating. Yeah, and I think they're changing it again. I think the next model's going to end up with something else. Not that I have any insight into it whatsoever, but they seem to be going that way. Sorry, you said.
Yeah, I was like, probably USB-C then.
Yeah, or you probably just sort of do that and somehow it connects to your hand. I mean,
European Union is trying to force them to go to USB-C as well.
yeah. Well, I hope they win because I'm on that side as well. I think it would be great for things to be universal, most definitely. Any other questions on audio while you've got me in person here? Any specific issues around audio?
Is it more like safe to then opt for the option where you record separately? Because maybe, I don't know if the lightning jack maybe falls out if you use the if you were to
Yeah.
actual
Yeah, okay, so your question, you're asking, is it still better to record separate and then sync it in post-production? It really depends on the shoot you're on and the cost of that shoot. You know, if you're on a low-end shoot and you haven't got a lot of money, any of these devices is workable. But if you can, yeah, bring in a sound recordist and a boom op and go for it, yeah. So equipment's changing massively. You can now use what we call DOF adapter systems, so you can connect a movie prime lens to the phone. Yeah, so as you can see on the left here is a focus wheel that's connected to, that's the phone screen, and then at the front there is a DOF adapter, which allows you to connect you can go and hire any prime movie lens and connect it to the phone. I still feel that technology has got a little way to go, but it's clearly where it's going. And I have been exploring with the DOF adapter and looking at that, and I've found the results very interesting, but there are still some vignetting issues going on, and there are some cropping that you have to do to the actual shot, and I find that a bit frustrating. And you need a lot more light, because you've got an adapter going into the phone, there's loads more light that has to go through it before it gets to your screen, and that can be also tricky. But it's an interesting area. So then you've got things like the anamorphic lens, which gives you huge cinematic widescreen filming. It's a beautiful lens to work with, made by Moondog Labs. Anamorphic, it works really well. It's simple, it's about this big. It just literally clicks onto the front of your phone and off you go. And you get the beautiful sun flare, you know, light flare that comes across it. It looks fantastic and can work for certain things like action sequences or chase sequences, whatever it might be, or even music videos. And then of course you've got rigs, you've got remote sliders, you've got, that's my Weebill gimbal. So the gimbal systems are all changing now. The cages, the rigs, B-Script developed a 3x telephoto lens, which is absolutely amazing. And I shot most of my latest drama using that particular setup there on the right. The thing about this is all fantastic. It costs a lot of money. It's not necessary when you're first exploring your options. Gimbals, the only thing I would recommend to you if you're into gimbals or you have a gimbal, someone mentioned they had a DJI gimbal, someone who, I can't remember who it was. Oh yes, DJI gimbal. They're all good, but as you progress and develop in mobile filmmaking, you start to look and explore and think, I want to attach this, I want to adapt this, or I want to get that amazing external lens attached to it, or I've got to plug some sound into the side of the phone, so I need to do this and this, and you're building up. So this ends up being quite heavy. And the one thing that people don't think about is they go out, they rush out, they buy a gimbal, then they realize as soon as they put a filter on the front of their phone, the gimbal goes bleh. because it can't cope with the weight. And it can literally just be that. You can put a filter on the front, like a neutral density filter, which would highly recommend that you do use. It will just flip over. So you have to think long term. Where am I going to go with it? How serious am I about it? Do I want to go down that route? And if you do, you need to get a bit more of a beast that can then start to take all the extra weight that you want to add to it. The little mobile handheld gimbals are great fun. They're fun to have. You can still get some really good shots. But when you're going to that next level, you're going to end up with weight issues. Does that make sense? There's the little lens setup. So, but of course, technically, I could go on, but story is everything. And I think it's important to always be external with exploring what inspires you and what's important to you. And I've just put up a couple of pics that I find incredibly inspiring. These are by Fan Ho, who's sadly no longer with us. But I love photography, and I love looking at images. They tell stories. I look at the characters in those images, and I think, who are they? What would their name be? Where are they going? What are they doing? So in my mind, I'm already creating a beginning, middle, and end to my story by looking at that photograph and thinking beyond what I'm seeing. You know, what is she thinking? Why is she standing there? What is that? And artist-wise, we all have our own thing. So for me, it was Norman Rockwell. When I was a child, we didn't have the internet or anything like that for inspiration or motivation. But I used to study Norman Rockwell's artwork because every picture to me was a movie. And I just imagined being a filmmaker and telling the stories. So this is the gossip, the conversation that goes through a phone. So many of us don't actually speak on phones anymore. But to me, that's just a story in itself. And what are these two characters here talking about? So again, it's just about beginning, middle, and end. Look at anything. Sometimes I will sit in a cafe and I will just have a cup of coffee and write some notes. And then I'll just watch the street for, half an hour, and characters walking past. And you start to imagine, who are they? Where are they going? What are they doing? Although that makes me sound like I'm a stalker. I'm not. But we all find our inspiration from different places, and that's just what works for me. Any final quick questions? Yes?
Advice a site or where it's best way to buy stuff for your iPhone?
Stuff. Gear, equipment. Okay, so 2 companies I would say are solid in what they build, which are lenses, cases, cages, anamorphic lenses, tele lenses, will be a company called Moment Lens in America, Moondog Labs, and they are actually, originally, they were lens developers for Kodak, so they know what they're doing. So if you want a good anamorphic lens, go to Moondog Labs in the States. And then in Chicago, there's Beast Grip, which is Beast Grip are the makers of this type of thing, the cages, the lenses, that type of thing. But to be honest, there's a huge world of it everywhere, but those ones I would recommend. If you want good quality, they're a bit more expensive, but if you want the quality, those are the companies you need to be looking at. You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, I wanted to ask about the lenses that you had. Are they the smaller kind? Are they magnetic, or how do you use them with the phone? Because you didn't have the actual frame on it.
Right. So I used a Moment case, which is like a rubbery plastic case. I don't have it with me, but it has like a bayonet connection. And when you buy the lenses, the one thing that's very careful is whatever case you buy, you need to make sure that the lens that you buy is going to connect to it. So always read the small print. But effectively, it just clicks in.
Right.
It just clicks into a plastic case.
And the sunglass-looking lens as well that you had in the video?
The
filter. The filter for
neutral density filters?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need, if you go to Moondog Labs, which are the only ones that actually make it, it's called the multi-camera adapter. And it's a metal ring that will connect to the cases and allows you to add any neutral density filter you want. So if you're using DSLR ND filters, then you can use those on the mobile phone as well. So you buy the Moment rubbery case, plastic case like $20, and then you buy the Moondog multi-adapter ring, you connect it in, and then you can spin on any ND lens that you want on it, and it makes a huge difference. And I think they're like $35.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
Are we good?
Where we see it on your site, or do you have your own site where you show that?
Well, just go to Filmic Pro on YouTube, or go to filmicpro.com. You'll see my ugly face all over that. Yeah, I made 18 episodes of films about Filmic Pro with Filmic Pro. So they've got them on the website. They're on the YouTube channel. If you just typed in mobile filmmaking on YouTube, you will be absolutely inundated with content from all sorts of different professionals in different ways. And it's a fascinating thing just to spend a bit of time researching and looking at. On YouTube, I am Go Make Films. Give us a little wave if you can, that would be great. On Twitter, I'm Go Film It. Thank you so much. Thank you.